Thank you. I think so. I resent the thing, so I think we're good.
All right, good evening, everyone. I will call the August 12th, 2024 meeting of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors to order. I will first apologize for us being having such a late start on this. But we had a lot that we needed to discuss. As you know, we only meet once in the summer months, and as a result of that, we had a lot that we needed to get through. So I apologize for that. I will note that the board did meet in an executive session where we discussed a litany of matters. With regards to litigation, we discussed a zoning matter at 314 Oak Hill Lane. We also talked about 2 enforcement actions. We also spoke about 1 equitable relief action related to zoning noncompliance. On the personnel matter, we discussed the police contract negotiations that are ongoing. With that being said, Mr. Neese, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Altieri.
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcat is not here. Mr. Russo.
Here.
Ms. Chanlis.
Here.
Mr. San Francesco.
Here.
Your solicitor, engineer, and manager are here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neese. We'll now move down to section 4, the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now move down to section 5.1. Can I get a motion to consider approving the agenda with item 11.1 removed? Thanks to technology, we were having some issues and we're not able to get that off of our draft, but 11.1 will be removed. That is incorrect.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francesco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any board discussion? I'll just note that 11.1 and 11.3 are the same exact thing, except 11.3 is the correct one. 11.1 was the draft that due to technology issues, we weren't able to get off for some reason. Just in case anyone in the public had questions. With that being said, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll now move down to section 6, public comment for agenda items only. If there's any members of the public who have anything that they wish to say with regard to any agenda item, please go over to the podium, state your name and address for the record. I will note for the record that there are no individuals providing public comment. Section 7.1, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2024 meeting?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francesco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Section 8, reports. Report from the Police Department. Chief Lunn, do you have anything to supplement to your report? He's not here, so I can. 8.2 is the Fire Department. Chief Young is not here, so there's nothing to supplement to his. 8.3, report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Sharretts. Anything to supplement? Nothing to add. Thank you very much, sir. 8.4, report from the Director of Code Enforcement, Mr. Reczek. I don't know if he's on the line.
He's been having challenges getting on. Oh, there it is.
I have nothing to add unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reczek. Any questions from the board? Seeing none. 8.5, report from the Finance Department.
There is none.
Thank you. 8.6, report from the Library Director. I know Mr. Caruso is not here. 8.7, report from Leisure Services. Mr. Ehnow is not here. 8.8, report from the Township Engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. We have, as usual, quite a few projects going on now that it is into midsummer. Just to give a little summary, and then I'll welcome any questions. St. Albans Circle improvements, where we're adding the pump outs, narrowing down the circle, is going into construction this week with an anticipated completion about mid-September to the end of the month. The speed sign installations on Gradyville and Goshen Road, the contracts have just been signed, so that will be proceeding soon. We have on the agenda will be one of the roof replacements that are moving forward. Ellis Avenue sidewalk, the township has a meeting with the contractor tomorrow. It was supposed to be last week, but had to get postponed to come to resolution with them on the outstanding items for the sidewalk. Meadow Preserve parking area. We recently, Friday, received the HOP comments back from PennDOT for the improvements, the safety improvements along 252. Those are minor comments. We'll address that. In the meantime, Public Works has also completed the clearing and is starting the layout of the actual trail extension and parking area. Greer Park, just kind of a little update. We're deep into the design and permitting plans for that. We are within a few weeks of submitting our permits to two separate divisions at DEP. One is the waterways group for the actual stream relocation. The other one is the dam group for the removal of a dam, submitting that as one package, but there's two groups we have to go through with that. The various stormwater projects, we have the Martins Road, Hansel Road, and Valley Forge Road project contracts are signed. We have a pre-construction meeting on Thursday to get that project going. Water's Edge stormwater improvements, the township staff will be working on the agreed easements for that. And the Glendale Road work for shoulder stabilization infiltration bed is substantially complete at this point.
Eric, a couple of questions.
Mhm.
The first one is Meadow Preserve. I know that area has been cleared. I know that we've continued to have communication with the residents there. This might be a question more for George than it is for you as I'm processing this through. What is our anticipated completion date for that? Like, when will that parking area be done?
I anticipate, and George, you may need to answer a little bit more detail, but I anticipate that we will be continuing to do work throughout the fall. Probably will be early spring before people are actually parking there, because we really need to get the safety improvements done on 252 before we open up the parking there. Some of the work you may see will get done, but I don't think it'll be completed until the spring.
Okay. And Eric, to kind of Steve's comment right there, with regards to the HOP comments, I mean, you got those back fairly quickly. So what are they having? How long will we get until we get that HOP issued from?
Oh, so we intend to be resubmitting on that this week. The comments came down to some specific signage that they want installed in connection with the road. Yeah.
Good. St. Albans Circle, do we have a rendering yet of what that's gonna look like when that's completed?
We do, yes.
We
do.
do have
I know that we sent out a notification to the residents, letting them know, before work begins or goes any further. Can we make sure that we get that out as well so that residents can see what that's doing?
It'll be on.
We can get it on the website.
Okay, all right. And they have not, I saw Baco there on Sunday, but have they actually started doing stuff yet?
They're just starting pretty much today. We're starting to lay out, yes.
And I appreciate the fact that township staff hand delivered those letters to all the property owners there, so thank you for that. I received a couple of phone calls on it. And then lastly, Greer Park. You know, this is, I know Pennoni's newer to the township on this. This has been a long arduous process. I understand the engineering aspect of it. I don't try to understand the details of it. I just want to make sure that we're still communicating with that Greer Park group to make sure that they also know what's going on, because they're pretty much at the forefront of issues that might be arising or questions that are arising in the community. So I just want to make sure that we're also having conversations.
And I
with
think
them.
to that end, in the very near future, we're kind of at the point where we have a plan and we can coordinate and make sure
Yep.
everyone's on the same page, yes.
Perfect.
Eric, the traffic on St. Albans Circle with the construction,
Yes.
how much impact is it going to have?
It shouldn't be, so it is, actually the work is staged into two phases where they're gonna do work on the one side and then move traffic along the outside. So we're not anticipating any stopping of traffic anytime during construction. And we're working with the contractor who is well-versed in working with active traffic, so.
Will there be any lane closures, any Because you have Westchester Pike, which we're getting destroyed on, which we shouldn't
Mhm.
because it's PennDOT. Then you have that now. Is that gonna?
No, so the work, no, we actually had discussed it with Route 3. We don't see any interaction with that. The work that we're doing at St. Albans is focused on that south side where it is so extremely wide.
Perfect. Okay.
You can work and have traffic still
Okay,
moving.
great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Thank you, Eric. 8.9, report from the township manager, Mr. Neese.
Yes, I have several things and I'll try to go through pretty quickly. Just kind of mostly updates. Media Line Road, the township staff worked with the police department and our public works team. They were out on Media Line Road and put in hash marks, places not to park. We're also working on looking at the question was asked regarding opening up parking further down in front of the school administration area. I went back and was able to dig back in the minutes from, I believe it was back in 2004-ish, if I remember right, that the reason why it was that far back was had been an accident coming out. So I'm working with Chris, the chief, to pull out what the accident was, to make sure that that the reason why we're that far makes sense based on the fact that what the accident was. And so we're still working on that, but the hash marks have been put in. They've also done some in front of some fire hydrants, but also at the corners. Probably makes it a little strange if you're coming out on Mulberry, out onto Media Line. My comment to you is if you're doing that, go ahead and drive over the hash marks, just don't park on them. So it's pretty clear. St. Albans Circle has already been updated, so I'm going to skip that one. We are planning our employee appreciation / team building lunch that we do annually in October. Usually we're actually going to do it September 11th. I would like to close the office from 11:30 to 2:30. Also bring our public works team back because we do some team building event during that time and also give them a very fancy hot dog and hamburger lunch. And so we're going to move forward unless there's some objection from the board. In the past, we've always supported Garrett Williamson's Fall Festival. So we're going to follow up with that.
That's an agenda item, correct?
I think so.
All right.
Specifically. The next thing I wanted to make you aware of, and I'm going to let George speak to this in more detail if you need it, but we're looking at leaf collection at the end of the year, as we've been doing in prior years. One of the challenges is that this year, Thanksgiving and Christmas are relatively close together. Usually we have 4 full weeks. We don't end up with 4 full weeks this year. And so George wants to make a recommendation. I'll let him take over on that.
Sure. So again, traditionally, we make sure that every residence that we pick up from, we do one before Thanksgiving and then we do one after Thanksgiving before Christmas. Because of the way Thanksgiving falls this year, there's really only 3 weeks in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We did not want to have one zone wind up having to have their second collection be before Thanksgiving. So we are going to be doing the 4 zones before Thanksgiving, and then the 4 zones after Thanksgiving. The last one, we're going to do 2 zones together. So that last week before Christmas, and I think it's 1 day or 2 days, we're going to do 2 zones together. It's going to put more pressure on us, but it's the better thing for the residents from the standpoint of giving everybody that second collection after Thanksgiving before Christmas. So that'll be our game plan. Folks may look at it and say your math is wrong. It's not. We're just going to try to consolidate everything in there.
George, whatever happened with the, are we able to file a new grant for that leaf truck that we lost because of the timing?
So a new grant round was just announced, and I literally got the email on that this morning. We're going to investigate that and see how much grant money is available and whether it makes sense to go for it again. Okay. The other thing I'll mention with leaf collection is every year we rotate what area is zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, so that no one area of the township gets the best pickup time every year. So we rotate it. We're doing that again this year.
George, we're going to say this multiple times while you're in the actual process of leaf collection, but it is amazing what you guys do during that season. So whatever you want to do and however you want to coordinate it, I support it fully. And I know that no matter how great of a job you guys do, when I first got on this board and you guys prepared me for the complaints about leaf collection, I thought that was misstated. And now that I've been on this board for 5 years and I hear people complain about it, it's mind blowing to me. So thank you for everything that you do and to your team for doing it in such a professional and quite frankly, efficient manner.
I would just say, I really do, George and I have talked about this schedule, and I think he's doing the right things for the residents and do that. Just be aware that if we end up with some difficult weather, that may impact what that looks like. And so we would just want the residents to understand that we will do the best we can, weather pending. And so, but I know if we end up with some stuff that George doesn't like us to talk about, I'm not allowed to say the word. But if we end up with
That
some of
begins
that
with an S.
before, yeah, but begins with an
Ends
S
in a
before
W.
Christmas. Yeah, we'll just use the plow and we'll take care of all of it. But just know that could potentially impact that. And so, but we still think this is the best schedule. His team's worked really hard to really address this. So thank you. The next thing I have is I just got notification last week that we got the Green Light Go Award, just so everybody understands that really is to help move traffic. With the loops, we have a couple cameras that don't always function exactly like we would like them to function. And we have a couple spots where there's still loops in the ground instead of having cameras. And so this is replacing those loops that are in the ground with cameras. And it's also it's putting a different type of camera, I think it's the best way to describe it, at the Route 3 and 252 intersection.
Yeah. So just real quickly, the 3 intersections, Route 3 and 252, 252 in Whitehorse and 252 in Goshen are areas where we constantly have issues with sun glare. At certain times of year, the sun in the morning or afternoon just hits those cameras in the right spot that it blinds them. And then the detection doesn't work properly. So this is going to replace them. And then also at Westchester Pike and Radnor and Westchester Pike and Valley View, it's putting in cameras where there are not presently any.
Yeah. And George, I mean, before you get down, I know that there was a lot of publicity on this. It's a substantial grant that we got in conjunction with working with our state representative and state senator. But really, a lot of the legwork comes down to the township staff who put a lot of that together. So I want to thank you and your team and everybody who was involved in it for getting that done. Originally, we budgeted this board for this year to just do 1 intersection. Because of that grant and going through that process, we're now able to do 5 intersections. So I think it's a huge win for the township. It's a huge win for the taxpayers, and it's something that you guys need to be commended for, all of you who are involved in it. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
I have one last thing.
Yes, sure.
Just Arlene wasn't here to kind of toot her own horn, but I want to just take a moment. First of all, the month of July was their 50th anniversary, so that was a big deal. The other thing that I would make note of, the month of July, they also had their highest circulation on record, and it was over 15,000 circulated items, which is really just phenomenal. They continue to break records going forward. So our library is doing just a really great job.
And I will note, it's in the packet, but in November, they will have their formal celebration. I think it's November 9th at TECA. So it's been in the packet for the last couple of months, but just to make sure it's discussed now. Yeah, I don't want to, it's all in there, publicized. Anything else, Mr. Neese?
That's all I have. Everything else I think is on the agenda.
So I believe that we need to make a motion to, well, Mr. Sikora, the sponsorship request for Garrett Williamson is not actually on the agenda. So because of the new Sunshine Act law, do we want to just add that as an agenda item next month, or can we do that now? She knows the guy. And as you're looking that up, I'll just add too. So Supervisor Chanlis and I are both gonna have to recuse ourselves from this. So it might just be better for us to push it.
September.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount is the amount that we typically do for other organizations.
I confirm it's October 19th.
Let's do it in September. You'll have a quorum.
All right,
anyway.
all right.
Yep.
We'll just add that to the agenda. Ms. Malanen, please. All right, any questions for the township manager? Great, we'll now move down to section 9, payments 9.1. Can I get a motion approving the payment to Signal Service, Inc. in the amount of $68,712.75 for the replacement of the traffic signal cabinet at Route 252 and Griddyville Road that was destroyed in a vehicular accident on March 31st, 2024. The cost is to be reimbursed by insurance monies.
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 9.2, can I get a motion approving $39,258 payable to Pennoni Associates for invoices that did not appear on check register in item 10.1 below?
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? You just, so the public knows, this is just accounting wise.
This was a PO that, to be honest with you, it didn't get my approval in time, and so I approved it on Friday, but it didn't get onto the check register. And so we wanted to get them paid and not have them have to wait until the first meeting in September.
I'm sure Eric's will be very happy with that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Section 10, bills, 10.1. I have reviewed the bills and I'll make a motion to approve the bills on check register A dated August 12, 2024, totaling $1,026,551.23.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Section 11, developers release. 11.1 has been removed, but for tonight's meeting, we're going to pretend like all these agenda items are still here. 11.2, can I get a motion approving certificate of payment number 1 totaling $28,579.82 from Joseph J. Danielle LLC associated with the Glendale Stormwater Project as approved by the Township Engineer, leaving a retainage balance of $3,175.53.
So moved.
Motion is made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 11.3, can I get a motion approving escrow release number 4 totaling $93,041.92 from Polig Homes LLC associated with the Stony Knoll site improvements as approved by the Township Engineer, leaving a remaining balance of $1,139,169.72.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion?
I have a question.
Just make sure your microphone's on.
Did they ever come back in for a redesign? They're just building everything as it was approved?
They've not come back in yet. They are still, they are preparing that design to come back in because the last conversation we had with them, there's also a change to potentially the stormwater. So they're going to come back in one time before you with that.
So are the roads paved yet?
I don't think they're paved yet. They were working on the base coat, but I don't know that they're.
No, so their site contractor at the moment is working on like the larger public improvements, that being the roadway, the swales, the mass grading. So that's what this would be associated with. It's not the actual individual.
Have they
lots.
put all the utilities in the road?
With the majority, I believe the water, sewer, majority of the utilities are now.
And the water was connected up as the fire marshal wanted it up the road?
Correct, and they have yes, that water loop was connected going up the street, yes. So they actually have that water loop, a water main extension was installed going up the road, and they've actually even had a few residences since then have now wanted to connect to that water main going up White Horse.
And then did the, they're bringing gas into development the same way they brought the water?
I believe the gas
The
is,
gas was already in the road.
the gas was already run, so that runs along the shoulder, that was already running down the road.
All right, and then the water also connected in Echo Valley.
Correct. There is this
Now there's
made
a
a
loop.
full loop that, yes, the
Alright.
main extension created the full loop, serves Echo Valley and this development. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Section 12, new business, 12.1. Can I get a motion approving the advertisement for the open position on the planning commission, which will expire 12/31/2025?
I move.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? I'll just note that this vacancy is created because of the resignation of Jack Weiner, whose resignation we accepted last week or last month, effective immediately as he's moving out of town. We again want to reiterate our support and thanks for him during that time on the planning commission. We will advertise this via social media and the township website. So any interested individuals, be on the lookout. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.2, motion, well, actually, Mr. Ford, I'll just let you get up and talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I- So John, when you get up there, just state your name and title for the record again.
Good evening, John Ford, Equus Capital Partners, Senior
that all?
Vice President Development. It's green.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. I want to talk to you about the AC Marriott Hotel. Here to show you the signage package for the hotel. The reason why the signage package wasn't included in the overall signage package for phase 2 of Ellis Preserve, similar to the reason why in phase 1, the Hilton Garden Inn wasn't included. There's just one aspect of the signage that doesn't conform with the signage guidelines. So just want to walk you through that today. If Suzanne, you don't mind putting up the, oh, sorry. Let's take the top one. So here's the overall signage plan for the AC Marriott. Charles Ellis is along here at the bottom. That's the parking lot there. The building is on the north, at the top of the plan. I just want to walk through the various signage that. Yeah. I just want to walk through the various signs that are associated with the building. I want to start with the wall signage. We have 3 locations on the building where we're installing an 8x8 sign. If we could just go to the, it's kind of easier to explain it. Here, that's fine. Actually, can we go to the other exhibits? The east elevation's fine. We'll take one at a time. So it's just easier showing you a picture of the existing conditions out there today. So the first sign I'm going to talk about is on the east elevation, which is facing the mass timber office building. It's an 8x8 sign. It's pretty much just a square sign, internally illuminated. Show you. Really just. I can show you a better picture.
There you go. Yeah, because it looks like it's not protruding out. It's a wall
No,
sign, right?
It's a pretty flat sign.
Got it.
Right on the facade. And it's located just above the entrance on the east side. Like I said, right between the mass timber office building. If we could go to the next one.
And that mass timber office building's taller than the AC Marriott, isn't it?
It's taller by five feet.
Got it.
Yeah.
So if I'm driving down Winding Way, I'm really not gonna see that from Squire, I mean, too much of that from Squire Drive, right?
You would see it coming off at two on the winding way.
You would, yeah,
You would see.
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's sort of offset from the
Yep.
building a little bit. The second location on the south side of the building, there's the existing, yeah, right up on the left-hand corner there, just above the roofs, Chris.
So that's J, right, in the signage plan?
That's J.
Got it.
Correct. We can go to the next one. And then the third sign would be just to the right-hand side. If you're on Charles Ellis, looking at the hotel, it'd just be in the right-hand corner.
Got it.
Would be the third illuminated sign. It's 8x8 sign.
What's the square footage on them? I know there's,
The of each sign,
yeah,
it's around, well, it's 8x8, 64.
okay,
64.
could have done that math
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, no.
I started asking that question before you finished the 8x8.
Are you seeking variances for these signs, John?
Not variances as much. The board handled all the signage in the beginning.
Oh,
So they don't conform with the individually lit letters.
well, unfortunately for you, I was just down at the Raleigh AC on Saturday night, and I
Yeah.
just went by went up in Bridgewater today for lunch. And I don't see anywhere near the amount of signage on those sites, and they're on a highway. So I'm just trying to understand why we need 4 signs of this size and they're deviating from the standards.
Well, for Marriott dictates to us where the signs are gonna be. We don't really have much say in the matter, so we're following their guidelines.
Well, they're the exact same building as this.
Okay.
Both of them, the Raleigh one and the one in Bridgewater. I'm just wondering why we need so much signage when everybody in there is going 25 miles an hour. And you want to deviate. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I'm
I'm-
opposed,
I'm not.
I'm just not understanding why we need so much signage
Yep.
in this complex.
The only thing you're deviating from is just the lighting of it, correct?
Right.
The signage, the numbers of them, was that part of the original?
Yeah, this.
By and large.
This all is within the allowed square footage of signage that we have for phase 2.
Yeah.
And then, so we'll have to provide Andy an updated chart with these square footages.
So with regard to the amount of signage that you were approved for, this is not increasing that. It's still in line with
Not
that.
at all.
All we're talking about is the illumination of it. Can you, just because I think for illustrative purposes, it's probably good for the board, what sign is this similar to what we have there already? Now, I know this board has been putting as a pedestal the Pennoni sign, and I've told you that, it looks great.
Yeah.
I know it's not that, but what is it just?
It's not, this particular sign is not, there's nothing out there that we have today that's close to that. It's
These
a
aren't
much
backlit.
different sign.
These aren't backlit.
They're internally lit.
Same conversation we have with Pennoni.
Yeah, we went back to Marriott.
You don't have a, sorry, John.
Yeah,
You don't have like, just to help Mike out here, or supervisor, so you don't have like a night, what's gonna look like at night? That sort of, like a rendering of it at night? Is that it in your hand or anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, do.
There you go.
Why can't we backlit these like we've done all the other signs on?
Well, it's a box, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's a thin box. Yeah, it's all the same, but,
Got it.
it's all internally lit. It's their brand sign.
Everything out there is backlit. And this is where we're down the round. Remember with the lady from Pro Sign? Remember with the lady from Pro Sign about Pennoni, this is where we went round and round. I mean, I don't have a problem with the number signs, the size of the signs, if that's what he's allowed to do, but it has to conform to the standard lighting. Can't be different because this is a standard sign Marriott has on the shelf from some guy that makes it in California. That's just my
I mean,
opinion.
this is pretty similar to the situation we had with the Inn. It's their brand signage. We can't deviate from it. They prescribe it to us.
But the difference between the Hilton Garden sign and this sign, this is just a flat,
It's a flat.
the Hilton Garden are letters.
Correct.
So they're illuminated letters. This is just a flat screen with
That's right.
kind of a backlit light to begin with.
lighting,
Right, so
displays
it's,
each letter.
it's not like the Hilton. It's not individual letters. It's not sticking out. It's really flush. And the lighting will not be as strong as the Hilton because
No, it's actually,
dimmer.
it's a little, it's dimmer than that, yeah. And at 60 feet in the air, it's, I don't know how you would tell the difference anyway.
So in essence, this is a better sign than the Hilton sign
Much
because
better, so.
it sort of conforms with.
Yeah, again, it's a different sign in that there's not individual letters,
Right.
right? It's a 8x8 box. That's
So technically it is kind of backlit from internally in the sign.
Right.
Not individual lights that will just bright.
That's right. That's right. It's not like a set of letters. There's
Correct.
Like a lighting strip behind it, it's all self-contained. The
And
lights
will this be a
inside-
glossy AC Marriott or is this a bright white? Marriott? Do you know the matte finished on the letters itself?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
Right.
I know it's not very bright.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, it's more, you see the AC, it's.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then John, the other wall signs at like the entranceways and everything, they're
They're
just,
not illuminated.
they're just like a monument
just
sign?
placards.
Yeah, okay,
They're
perfect.
just placards, and the only other illuminated sign is over the entrance, porte cochere.
that the one that says AC,
Marriott, Newtown Square.
and how's that lit?
That conforms.
That conforms.
Yeah,
So
each-
you're only
each
looking
letter.
for those three signs
Those
that are
three
up
signs.
60 feet up, got it.
The benefit of folks who have the actual plans in front of them, the big white square around the side,
That's
is
not-
just a highlight
Yeah.
for our view here.
That's
That doesn't really
That's
exist.
a poor cutting and pasting.
Yeah.
John, come on, John.
3:30 today.
But John, we started the meeting late. You had a whole half hour to do this. Yeah. Come on.
All the 20-year-olds went home at that point. I was,
I mean, it's a
What are you
dark,
pointing at?
it's a dark faced sign,
Yeah,
a
it's
darker
it's a
wall
dark- It's a dark sign. It's a black sign.
It's this.
with white letters.
Yeah.
It's this.
Right.
that.
It's a black
Yes.
sign. Yep.
Much better than his cut paste job, huh?
Yeah.
God.
So. But everything else conforms.
Okay, do you have any other
I don't.
comments? Mr. Secor, do you have anything you need to add from a legal perspective or anything with regards to the PRD or anything like that? With regards to sign it?
Nothing from me.
Mr. Neese, you're fine as well? Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay. 12.2, I will make a 12.2, can I get a motion approving or denying the sign package that is associated with the new AC Marriott
So moved.
to approve?
Approved.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco to approve the new signage package that is associated with the new AC Marriott. Is there a second? I'll second it again. This is in conformity and is consistent to the signage plan that was submitted to prior boards before any of us were sitting here. The only thing they're seeking is the difference with regards to illumination. I agree with what the applicant said with it being 60 feet up. I think this is going to be a nicer sign, or not a nicer sign, but I don't think it's going to protrude it or cause any glares or light pollution or anything like that. I also can fully appreciate and respect the fact that a national retailer is kind of driving that signage brand as well. So for those reasons, I'll second that motion. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Motion carries 3-1. Okay, thank you. 12.3, can I get a motion approving the 2025 MMO minimum municipal obligation contributions totaling $848,705 as follows. Uniform employees, $606,231. Non-uniform employees, $242,475.
I move.
second,
Motion was made by Supervisor Sesko, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, pretty cut and dry, but do you have anything you want to add?
I just would note, this is our minimum requirement to our pensions, as stated below. And again, this is, what they set based on where the stock market is with where our value is compared to where our actuarial study says we need to be. The increase over last year is about $20,000 combined between the two accounts. It's 11,000, a little over 11 for the uniform and about 8,000 for the non-uniform. So that just gives you an idea of where we were and where we are. And that's current over this year. I said last year, I meant over this year, 2024. This is for 2025.
Got it. And we are still with regards to our pension funding.
I think currently we are somewhere in the 90%. I don't know the exact
Perfect.
at this moment in time, but we were right about 92 for the
Yeah.
one and 96 for the other, I believe.
Okay, perfect. Better than a lot of other municipalities. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.4, can I get a motion approving the fee waiver for the annual St. David's Episcopal Church Fair totaling $3,667.82 as follows. Security deposit of $25. Police fee includes one officer and one car for the duration of the event, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., $692.82, tent permit of $2,700, 9 tents at $300 a tent, special event permit user fee $250.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion?
If I could, you're going to be voting on 4 of these, and I just would make note, in the past, we have from time to time, particularly for the St. Alban or St. David's group, not charged for police. A lot of times we still charge for police. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that as you're making the decision. And just, you can decide which way you want to go forward, but I think last year we determined that we had not charged for the police last year. Is that correct, Suzanne? But most of the time we do charge for our police services for special events. We don't waive that. We tend, unless it's a township event. We do waive some of the other costs, but we don't waive that cost.
So is the administration's recommendation tonight with regards to St. David's Episcopal Church to waive that police?
I think that it's on here for decision. I think that the question is just consistency. We weren't sure which direction, because in the past, we've always done it for them. Now we have others that are asking for the same thing, and I just want you to be aware that we're going in a direction. And so that's
So my suggestion would be, and I'm only one, is that if we're concerned that more and more groups are doing this and that being a larger and larger nut, then we should evaluate that starting in January.
okay.
And if the administration feels that this is starting to get a little bit out of hand, then that's where we can start, I would believe, the consistency for the other groups. It's just my thought on that. All or my,
I think they're the people that have the farmer's market.
no, that's St. Albans Episcopal Church.
Well, I mean, if they're having a fair and we're charging everybody else in town that has these fairs for the police, then we have to be consistent. We can't treat somebody one way, somebody else different another way. My opinion.
So for tonight, because I think what Mr. Neese said is that you have waived this fee in the past. So for tonight, you're fine with it. But again, what I was saying about starting in January is when the administration will reevaluate what that consistency is. Are you fine with that? Where it achieves your goal of making sure that we're not doing
Well, I
one over
think we
the
just
other.
need to treat everybody the same. So if we waive it for one group, one church, and another church has a fair, we have to waive it for them. We can't say one group gets it, one group doesn't. So whatever the fairest way is to do that, if you want to let Mr. Neese figure that out and start the year off fresh, it is what it is.
All right, any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.5, consider approving the special event applications fee waiver request from Delaware County Christian School for the 3 fall events totaling $2,000 $274.51 as follows. I'm not going to read them all, but it's for August 29th, picnic and dedication service, August 12th, homecoming festival, November 22nd, powder puff event.
So moved.
It's for next year.
This is for the school year coming up. Yeah, August 29th, 12th, and October 12th, and November 22nd.
What are they asking?
It's, so we're waiving the fees for the police in all three of these events, consistent of what we just did with St. David's Episcopal Church. All those in favor, any other board discussion? I need a motion. Who made that motion?
Me.
Paul, Supervisor San
Second.
Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? Further board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. 12.6, can I get a motion approving the advertisement in the 2024 Marple Newtown Bandorama and Jazz Festival Program book at a cost of $310?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. 12.7, can I get a motion authorizing staff to execute the required agreement to engage Cohen Law with the township to negotiate the Comcast cable franchise fee audit and cable franchise renewal agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Mr. Neese, can you just briefly explain this to the public?
Yeah, so most of us, or most folks who have cable, either Verizon and or Comcast, have a fee that's a part of that. That fee is charged on every bill. You don't even get a choice, that's there, kind of thing. And then what happens is through this agreement that we have, we get a portion of that back to the township. Usually each year, it's about 120,000 from each one of them, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. It's in that range. And it's based on them running wires in our right of way so that people can connect and have cable. So our agreement with Comcast is coming up. We're working with Cohen Law. Some of the other municipalities are working with Cohen Law, and the more municipalities that agree, the cheaper the fee is. And so I believe that was in your packet, but so I don't have an exact amount. I can tell you what it won't exceed, but that's what we're looking for.
And Rich, have you reviewed this already?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't review the fees and everything,
No, no.
but yes.
But you have no problem with the engagement?
No.
Okay.
In fact, we represent other townships, and the Cohen Law Group has represented them very well over the years for this type of issue.
Perfect. Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.8, can I get a motion granting the easement request from Aqua on Pine Street as reviewed and approved by the township solicitor?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion?
What's the easement for? They don't have
So-
an easement now?
They're
Dedicated
wanting to put a new line in along Pine Street. It will actually, the easement is because of where they're running it is closer to our property. I think they're just abandoning the one that's in place now, and they're running this one next to it.
Not a public street.
Yeah.
So we owned in the middle. The it took us a while to get this easement done just because it was not clear, because the address for the property is Bishop Hollow Road. The easement is behind the property on Pine Street, so it took a while to get there, but we're there.
Any other board discussion? All's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All's opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, 12.9. Consider accepting the offer of dedication of the John West House, AKA Square Tavern, from Equus Capital Partners, pending title commitment and future deed transfer, along with a $25,000 donation for a maintenance fund.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chanlis, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion?
We know what the yearly maintenance of this house is now.
Yeah, that was provided to us. Steve has all that. Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
You oppose, Kathy, or you accept, or you're voting in favor?
No, I was voting in favor, but I couldn't unmute fast enough.
Okay, so just to be clear, Supervisor San Francisco,
Aye.
Supervisor Chanlis,
Aye.
Supervisor Altieri is a yes, Supervisor Russo is a no. Motion carries 3-1. And I have a statement that I would like to read from the Board of Supervisors. The Newtown Township Board of Supervisors is pleased to announce, obviously to the community, that after conversations with Equus Capital Partners, Equus has offered and the township is accepting the dedication of the Square Tavern. The property includes the historic building, the surrounding yard, the parking lot, and the trailhead. The property at the intersection of Goshen Road and North Newtown Street Road dates back to 1742 and has been preserved through several renovations over the years by its previous owners, including Arco Chemical and Equus Capital Partners. Since its ownership of the Square Tavern, Equus has continued to support the Newtown Township Historical Society to use the property without charge for activities and events, including art shows, monthly open houses, tours to the public on its historic Newtown Square Day, living up to the Ellis Preserve mission statement of creating community, enriching history. The parking lot additionally has been an integral part of the access to the township's trail system. This transfer of the property to the township will ensure that this historic property of significance and access to one of Newtown Township's most popular trails will be preserved into perpetuity. Pending deed preparation and title insurance commitment, Equus will be transferring the property to the township in addition to making a $25,000 donation earmarked for future maintenance of the property. This transaction is consistent with the Board of Supervisors' goal to preserve Newtown Township history, as demonstrated in the strategic plan of 2019, the enactment of the historic preservation ordinance, and the significant investments made to preserve historic resources such as the Paper Mill House and Bartram's Covered Bridge. The board extends its deepest gratitude to Equus Capital Partners for its continued support of the township and its generous donation of the Square Tavern property. The board also extends its deepest thanks to the Newtown Square Historical Society, which has been a vital partner in promoting and maintaining the township's history. The board is beyond excited to be furthering one of the township's key objectives, be stewards of township history. Our community deserves no less, and the Board of Supervisors invite you to join in celebrating this exciting news. And I do know that Mr. Spader is here as well as Miss Cavalier. I don't know if either of you would like to come up to the podium and say anything. I know there's more stuff that we're working through that will be released once everything is agreed to. But Mr. Spader, I don't know if you want to come up and say some words, but the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you.
Just go to, sorry.
Yeah. Everybody knows that the history of the property has been very important to me for 20 years. Preserving the building, doing my best to stay as possible. Really important. Through that commitment. West House, as it's known, I wish it would be called the Benjamin West House because the most significant piece of it is Benjamin West, father of American painting. He's the most important painter in American history. He was raised in that house. I think I've spoken with Terry Jones a number of times about a project to build a statue and create a greater connection to the middle of the town. So I committed the first $25,000 in addition to the $25,000 savings, and I hope that someone else is going to promote the history of Newtown Square, the history of Ellis, history of Benjamin. Because there's really great assets out there. People don't fully understand, appreciate. I've worked at it for 20 years. I'm going to continue to work at it for as long as I'm on this side of the earth. I don't ever imagine not owning something in Ellis Preserve at this point. We have so much investment property. So I would like for other people to in the effort. You know, yeah, we have maintained it for 20 years. I'm sorry. So it's been enthused by the gift. It's fun to get it rolling, but you know, at some point,
I think it is important that we all, that we all chip in and make the most of, the assets of this community. And that is a very, very important asset of the community and the region, because Benjamin West is the father of American painting. We should continue to honor his legacy and, and promote it. So thank you, appreciate it.
They just turned the microphone on, so you gotta say it all over again.
Larry's been a great friend out there and has always been a friend and advocate of the historic community. And this is what we're doing. And thank you to the people who have done it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kathy, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, just follow up on that. To thank you to Mr. Spader and for Equus for their stewardship of the tavern. In working with them, and we've developed a lot of programs at the Square Tavern, at the Paper Mill. We've had a very good working relationship, and I especially want to thank the grounds and maintenance crew at the Ellis Preserve. Yes, we have to give them, I have so many texts to Dan that Dan knows me quite well. And always willing to come fix anything, open the door whenever I asked. So I appreciate greatly the relationship that we developed and bringing the tavern more visitors than we've ever had. Our membership has grown. The trails and paths have brought a lot of people there. And I want to thank Leonard and all his help in the past few years, even with the ordinance and now with this acquisition. So I know the board feels the same way. We're all very happy.
Well, it was a board effort, so
Yes.
it was a board effort
I
here.
know.
And with that being said, I don't know if you want to bring up any of your members of your board, but since Mr. Spader's still here, we can grab a photo as well.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Leonard loves photos.
It's a shame publication was a month too soon. For next year.
All right.
There.
I gotta put your microphone on.
So I just want to make sure everybody understands now the township's taking over responsibility for the maintenance. And every time that they have a problem, now maintenance is going to be handled by the township. And $25,000 when we're spending $165,000 for a new roof on the other property, the paper mill house, doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. That's why I didn't like the donation. Not that I didn't want the donation. I just think we're underfunded. And I think that money's not going to last if there's any major work that needs to be done on that house and we don't have any kind of report that I was shown.
All right, 12.10, can I get a motion to approve the purchase of a drone for the police department totaling $8,761?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.11, can I get a motion approving the purchase of a new message board for the police department totaling $18,669? The former board was destroyed in an accident.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Neese, are we getting?
Hold on real quick. Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Russo?
Mr. Neese, is this hit in a car accident?
Microphone.
How is this damaged?
It was hit in a car accident. I think it was out on Westchester Pike. I believe.
So are they gonna reimburse us for this sign?
They are reimbursing us $15,100. We are getting through our insurance company. That's what we are going to get.
So 15,000 and change of this 18,000 and change is gonna be paid for by an insurance claim.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's just so everybody understands, this is a inland marine, I think I'm saying it right, an inland marine considered item. And that is the maximum that the insurance company will pay out for it based on our current insurance. So we would have to increase the amount. And the person that hit it, his company's maximum was 10,000, and that's why we chose to take Newtown or take our insurance company's claim on.
So, our insurance is paying this claim?
Yes,
So doesn't that mean next year when we come up for renewal, we're gonna have this against our insurance and our rates are gonna go up?
that's correct.
So why aren't we having our solicitor writing a letter to the insurance company
We-
telling we want them to replace
We
the sign?
we are going
and
to
take 'em to
continue
court.
to, we are going to continue to proceed, but this was the way we could move forward today at this amount. And yes, we will continue to do that. We will be working with our solicitor, but just know we're looking at picking up an additional, maybe about $5,000 in the process, you know, in where we are.
No. But the problem is, if you take this as a claim against our insurance policy, next year our rates are gonna go up based upon one of this claim and other claims we're having. Like the signal box is probably the same thing. Like if we're only getting X back from somebody, if someone takes this sign out and it costs us $18,000 to replace it. Now, I don't know if that's depreciation or what, but it seems to me like if we put on our insurance, then next year when we get the insurance bill, instead of being X, it's gonna be X plus percentage. That's just fine.
I mean, we are trying to go back against them. I will be working with Rich to try to go back against the particular individual on this, but this is what the insurance company was willing to do. I mean, if you want us to only use the
No.
10,000 from their insurance
No, I'm just
company,
saying,
we
if
can do
you're
that.
saying this.
Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.12, can I get a motion awarding the 2024-2025 de-icing salt contract on behalf of 11 Delaware County municipalities to Eastern Salt Company Incorporated, who have the lowest responsible bid of $69.75 per ton. This award is subject to acceptance by the other municipalities of their share of the contract obligation.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? Good job, George.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.13, can I get a motion directing the staff to move forward with the repairs to the Gradyville Road Bridge?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just gonna open up the board discussion. So motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Russo. I'll now turn it over to board discussion. Supervisor Russo.
So is this the bridge that we waited so long to be rebuilt?
Yeah, someone hit
is.
it.
Well-
Long and short of it is someone crashed into a guardrail and the guardrail
Yes.
needs to be. replaced.
Somebody hit the guardrail on the opposite side of the road. We've gone back through the police reports. We don't have any record in the police reports of the guardrail being hit. And so when it
Okay.
was inspected by the state, they came out and fortunately enough, the state said we could leave the bridge open and didn't say we had to close it immediately. And they gave us, I believe, 6 months to get the guardrail fixed.
Okay.
So it was a hit and run. Any other board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.14, can I get a motion approving the proposal by CM3 to repair the municipal building's existing water source heat pumps by replacing 2 cooling circuit contractors, replacing 2 auxiliary contactors, and replacing 2 power phase monitors on WSHP number 1 and 2 for a cost of $12,750.
So moved.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion?
Give us air conditioning in the conference room. I'm kidding, just keep going.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.15, can I get a motion approving Lenai Electric to install necessary poles and power lines to supply electrical service in Newbie Park for the cost of $9,100, and Delco Solutions to install a new camera at a cost of $10,581. The total cost of the complete installation is $19,681.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, for those who are not familiar with it, this is in response to vandalism that continuously occurs over at Newby Park. Is that correct?
Newby Park, if you don't know where Newby Park is, it's a great little park. It just happens to be down kind of in a little valley, over off of, North Line Road in that area. If you come straight across and go down in that area, it's got a wonderful playground. It's got a beautiful basketball court. Not long after we had it just resurfaced, somebody went and drove all over it and did some stuff to damage it. So in order for us to know what happens, we feel like a camera system will help us keep an eye on what's happening.
And it's not isolated to that just one incident. I mean, we
It
always
is
have
not. It's
vandalism over
been, that has happened to be
Yeah.
something we just did this summer, but we've had vandalism to that
Yep.
park probably for the last 10 years that I've been here, and I'm looking at George, I would think for the years that he's been here as well.
George, can you explain how this is gonna work? We're putting in a new electrical service for this and then we're putting one camera in? Is it on
I
a
think
pole?
it's
Is it-
actually
yeah,
Is it in a building? What's going on here?
Yeah, so it's actually 2 cameras that are going down there.
Okay.
I know the agenda item says 1, but it's actually 2 cameras. We have to install 1 pole. We have to there's an existing pole down there. We have to install 2 taps into the power for it and then 2 cameras.
Will you do it off of that Doe also? So you got North Line, you have that, I mean, it's an awesome park, but it's wide and the trails come, so.
It
but I
is, so
know we have the other trails that aren't official, that go to the Marple side and the other side.
yeah.
Will this cover the basketball court, the playground, and that whole area?
This will give visibility from Doe Lane to the Marble
Perfect.
border.
Good. Thanks, George.
And so, you know, I mean, we went out with the police department and with the camera experts to identify what we needed to do.
So George, we're putting in electrical service for these cameras and then where are they on the cloud?
Yes.
Yes,
So this is gonna go on the cloud and send images to
to the police department.
It'll come back to our system that we have here.
is there some kind of alert on it or somebody just has to watch it?
So like for example, when we had a incident that happened here at the township building, somebody did damage to the basketball court that was here. We kind of knew the time frame. The police were able to go back and look specifically at the time frame, and were able to determine from the camera who did it and took care of it. And so it's a very similar type of.
And the nice thing with the new cameras, they have AI in it, and you can say, give me a notice when someone was in the park and it goes to that frame now. You don't have to watch the videos anymore.
Oh, so,
It's pretty
okay, so these are like
amazing.
really smart cameras.
It's
Okay.
really amazing what they do today, these new
All right.
cameras that are. Softwares, give me somebody in a red shirt in the park, it takes you right to that footage. It's
That's
amazing.
fine.
Calm down.
I'm into tech stuff. I know you don't know what it is, but it's my life.
All those in favor, signify, I'm guessing there's no, there's no further board comments, I'm assuming. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. 12.16, can I get a motion approving Fence Co. Inc. to make repairs to the Gable Field fencing for the cost of $9,655. This work includes repairs to the 2 swing gates, replacing 240 feet of damaged 8-foot-high fence along first and third baselines, and replacing the damaged 10-foot-high black backstop fence. Now I have a few comments on this, but can I get a motion in a second?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chanlis. We'll open it now up to board discussion. The reason why this is coming up, Mr. Neese and I had a conversation, obviously, prior to this meeting about the agenda, is that individuals who are in that field is being rented out to are using it as a batting cage. And so they're nailing their balls against that, and it's causing the bottom of the fence to curl up and creating a hazard. The question that I asked Mr. Neese is, and I don't know the answer to this, is those individuals that were running that Leisure Services is running it out to, and Supervisor Chandler, you might know this, do they get charged for that? So I know we own the field, we don't do anything with regard to the rental. Does Leisure Services collect a fee for that? Because what I would like to do is, look, if it needs to get fixed as a safety issue, that's fine. But if it's something that we're running out, I would think that leisure services should at least be asked to give at least some sort of money to this. It's just my thought.
Leonard, I mean, I don't disagree and I don't know offhand. Steve may know.
I
Sorry.
don't have
I should have said he didn't know, he did not know concretely when I spoke to him this afternoon, which is why I asked you, and I apologize. I did just put you on the spot as our liaison there, so I apologize for that.
and I think George just indicated he didn't think it was either.
Yeah, so the vast majority of the groups that utilize that field are local community groups. So it's like, the Broomall Newtown Baseball or Newtown Edgemont Little League or the Marple Newtown Soccer Association or the lacrosse group or something like that. There are very few outside groups that ever utilize it through Marple Newtown Recreation. And what happens is a lot of the time, those that might do this might be the visiting team that's playing, Broomall Newtown or something.
Well, I guess the question I would have that then, George, is so with Broomall Newtown, Newtown Edgemont Little League, Marple Newtown Soccer Association, the question still is, are they, when they get that rented by Leisure Services, does Leisure Services just give them a block and say, hey, you have it for, like, is there no fee that's associated with that?
I do not believe that there is a fee for a community group.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they are allowed to use it as a community entity.
Can we get signs on the fence saying no batting practice on the fence? I mean, especially in the spots where because like you said, if it's visiting, they at least be aware.
So the whole fence is damaged 240 feet? Just
Now
the
this
bottom-
is
bottom is
understand.
curling up or the fence itself's damaged?
Yeah, so understand this is over a number of years and it's gotten worse and worse. We were going to do it last year and we held off because we were waiting to see if we could tie it in with whenever the field winds up getting returfed in whatever form that winds up taking. When we brought somebody in to fix the swing gates, which were in need of repair immediately, they identified, you really need to take care of these runs because of the way the damage has progressed. So it was the time to do it now.
Are we going back with a bottom rail? So it can't
There
curl
is a
up?
bottom rail. I think it's become separated from it.
Oh, even now there's a bottom rail.
Yeah, there is a bottom rail on it now, but it's become separated.
So George, the fence line that we're talking about, it's everything in that diamond right there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the first and third base side, the 8-foot high fence running along there. And then immediately behind home plate, the 10-foot high backstop essentially.
Got it.
Now,
How old is that fence?
I'm sorry,
How old is it now? Do you know?
it predates me, so it's
Okay.
more than 12 years.
Got it. Okay, I cut you off. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I think you brought the key things up. I mean, it's something that needed to be maintained anyway. It's been getting worse. Every time we see anybody doing something inappropriate over there, such as batting into it, and again, that's usually a visiting team, we always contact Richie now, who contacts the coaches.
Yeah.
But it's never been a situation where one team has done so much damage individually that they would get a charge for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to get it done, and so I have no problem voting on it tonight, but I would like to see if we can get an answer to that question with regards to whether Leisure Services is collecting a fee for it, and if Leisure Services, maybe they don't do that for any of the fields in Marple Township, but just since whether it's a community group or not, I just want to see whether or not there is an opportunity for us to not have so much of a liability on that. But
And with regard to the other observation, there is currently signage up identifying that that's not permitted, but we can put more up.
yeah, okay, perfect. All right, any other further board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.17, consider awarding the Paper Mill House roof replacement project contract number 2024-25. The Detweiler Roofing LLC, who had the lowest responsible bid of $163,321 as approved by the Township Engineer.
So moved.
Or second.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Chandler, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. We'll now move to board discussion. Mr. Johnson, can you explain, or correct me if I'm wrong, this is not just the cost for the cedar shake shingles, but it's also their structural work that they're doing underneath it as well.
Correct.
explain
So,
the project to
right,
the
so the full
public?
scope would be the existing roof that's on there was put on about 2000 and it was installed in a it was put up at a low cost and is not holding up the time. So what the scope of this project would be is it's basically removal of the old cedar shake, putting down the proper sheathing and shimming to create a flat surface underneath, then putting in a mesh that's going to help let the cedar shakes breathe. And it's also removing and salvaging the trim that's around the dormers, so that once we put a new roof in, fix all the wood up and around the cedar shakes, so that you create watertight. And then there's the chimney that's up there that we have to pull the parging off of that chimney. Then when we'll be walking away, we have a complete watertight, so the roof cedar shake is in good shape, the wood trim around the cedar shake is in good shape, and the chimney is in good shape. So you'll now have a watertight, properly installed roofing system on the building. And I can't speak to the contractor who got the low bid, actually has substantial experience in both Valley Forge National Park and Independence Mall. And we've actually worked with them before, and they're also great carpenters too.
So let me ask you this question. There was questions that were raised that are valid questions with regards to cedar shake versus a metal roof. The metal roof would still allow us to continue to keep that historic designation, and it's not inconsistent to what to what's allowed for these historic structures. What is the life for both of those? I mean, is it? I want to make sure that it's known that we went through our due diligence with regards to this metal roof versus this cedar shake. So can you will we get a longer life out of the metal roof or the cedar shake roof, or like where are we on this?
So the generally accepted length of time on a metal roof is about 50 years, and the generally accepted length of time for a cedar shake installed to the specification is about 40 years. So they're relatively comparable length and times. I mean, and I think the big distinction here is there is on the lower level of the roof. So the difference between a metal and a cedar shake is going to be the final material of the final coating of the roof. There's other work to be done in and around that roof. So if we're putting metal on, we're still doing some timber work underneath of that final roof system.
Okay.
So it's not, you're not going to have, if you do a metal, you're reducing a whole scope of work. It is the final material difference on the surface.
Okay, all right. I don't have any other questions. Any other questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 12.8, consider approving the request from 4111 Goshen Road, William Lewis Homestead, and 43 Boot Road to be exempt from connecting to the public sewer system as approved by the municipal authority and the municipal authority engineer.
I move.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Chandler. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, this is because it's our ordinance. There's changes that are, we're
Yeah, so
exempting them
real
out.
quick, the reason why it's before you and the municipal authority didn't make that decision is your ordinance says that every person who is within 150 feet of the township's sewer is required to hook up to it either immediately, or they can do a 10-year deferment or a deferment at the time of sale. In the case of the 4111 Goshen Road, that house has gone up for sale. I believe they're under contract, so they would have had to connect at this time. Their septic system is working, and they've actually paid the tap-in fee to the municipal authority, but they have documentation from the Delaware County Historic Society that would recommend not connecting because of the potential for disturbance, not only to the foundation of the house, but also there's foundation of, I believe, some of the garden walls and some of the walls that were there that potentially were that have historic value, in addition to the fact that there may be artifacts within the ground there, and it would be very time consuming as well as possible damage to artifacts to do this. So the recommendation from them was not to have them connect. The 43 Boot Road case is a little bit different. They have a cistern water supply on their property, and there was concern that putting in the septic would potentially impact that through the connection. The amount of water flow, I forget how many gallons per minute they have, but it's quite significant. And there was some concern that actually connecting would impact that. The municipal authority had their engineer review it. Their engineer was in agreement, and that's why they accepted that they would not get that revenue, but the ultimate decision rests with you as the Board of Supervisors, because it's your ordinance and you have not designated that decision to the municipal authority. You've retained it.
The only addition that I would suggest to the motion as listed would be to add the clause at the end, until further notice by the township. Until further written notice by the township. What's that?
I don't want to have this locked in forever.
Well, that's the idea of
because if
saying,
their systems fail and it's a $200,000 system and they say, well, we're not going to do, we're just going to let it go.
that's what adding the clause until further written notice by the township allows you in the future to provide written notice that the exemption is hereby revoked.
I think it's a very bad precedent. I think you're making everybody else connect. I think there's only one person that didn't do it because person literally was not near a line, like 200 some feet. These guys are right on the line, both of them.
So
I think it's a bad precedent.
so before we go further into board comment, Supervisor San Francisco, you made that motion. Are you fine with us adding that additional language? So the motion itself will read approving the request from 4111 Goshen Road, William Lewis Homestead, and 43 Boot Road to be exempt from connecting to the public sewer system as approved by the municipal authority and the municipal authority engineer until further notice by the township. Are you fine with that change?
Yeah.
And Supervisor Chandler, you seconded that motion. Do you find that change acceptable?
Yes.
Let me ask a question.
Your microphone's on.
They paid all the fees. They paid the connection fee. They've paid their current and all the fees for the
Tapping fee.
the
They
tapping
paid the
fees.
tapping fee.
Yeah, so,
Let me say, I know that 4111 has paid the tapping fee. I would have to confirm
well,
it.
we want this other guy to also.
Okay.
And then again, as long as if we find out down the road that there's a way for them to connect and, their systems are in failure or something, I don't want to be held hostage.
Any other board discussion? I believe the property owners are here. Do you have anything you want to say? Just real quick, just when you get to the podium. just-
Rosario Scalia, owner of 4111 Goshen Road. The township engineer said that will be permitted to be exempt until fails. At the time it fails, so he has to be connected. So I mean, your concern is well taken and it's
Well,
already
if
addressed.
you're selling the property, right,
Yeah.
you're moving.
Yes.
So if the next person comes in 6 months from now or a year from now, they come out and they find out, oh, well, I need a new system. And, it's cost prohibitive, then, we need to be able to do something.
Thank you. All right. Any other board discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And I will just add a note that in volume 2 of the Newtown Square magazine, or his Newtown Square book, on pages 20 and 21 is 4111 Goshen Road. It looks absolutely beautiful. So congratulations. We're sorry to see you leaving. Yeah, but it looks beautiful. Yeah. And Rosario, thank you for your, I guess we'll be getting a resignation letter soon from you, but thank you for your service on the Historic Commission as well. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, public hearing 13.1, map amendment change, historic property 3201 Westchester Pike. Ms. Cavalier. Yeah,
So can we just set this up, just that this
Yep.
was previously, yeah, this was previously advertised and listed for our July 8th, 2024 hearing. It was presented to the board by the Historic Commission. It was considered and then pushed or postponed until tonight on the record. So we didn't re-advertise it, but all the notices and everything that we put in to the record last month still apply to this meeting. And now you can proceed.
Well,
she was sworn in, yeah. You were sworn in last time, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
So
And-
you're still under oath.
So I presented a lengthy presentation that the gentleman I gave the notes to. I don't want to read through that entire thing again. Do you want me to read it?
I think you can just do Supervisor San Francisco and Supervisor Russo.
I could field question if that would be easier, since I did do the entire presentation on the.
How about I do it this way, Kathy? Is there anything else that, if you wanted to give a 15-second elevator pitch that you would want to throw to the
Let me
board?
see.
This is your opportunity. If not, then I do agree with you. I don't think it's necessary for you to go through the entire presentation again. And if there are questions from the board and you're prepared for them, we'll entertain them.
The property on Westchester Pike was built in 1813 by Simon Litzenberg, and I'll slow down. A family of local Coopers, and that was 47 acres of land along Westchester Pike. He built in the style of the German double-door farmhouse, and it's an architectural style unique to Pennsylvania and surrounding areas, which makes that actually fairly unique property. It's architectural design in Newtown Square. Many people probably didn't see it was covered in shrubs. So now when you go by it, it's next to Sharretts. So if everybody, you probably know where it is. If you live there, yes.
And you, at the last meeting, you went through the criteria of why it
It met the
triggers, why it meets the ordinance. You
I
went
don't
through
have
all
it.
that, which I don't think that you need to go through again, but if there's any other,
I have
Let
some,
me ask some questions.
yeah,
Sure.
Mike, you wanna go?
Unfortunately, I apologize, I wasn't here last. Have you talked to the owner of this property? Are they willing to have this designation on the property?
They didn't object. And I did speak with the person before they purchased it, and that would be the owner of Sharretts.
Okay, does this person, the owner of Charlotte's, understand that there's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring that house up to code, so it's not gonna fall down? And that the township's not donating money to that?
Correct. This
I mean,
is not to determine
You have
that.
a letter from this person
This
here?
is to determine whether this home is historic and meets the qualifications to go into our ordinance. Whether he proceeds with a plan to ask to take it down, sell it again is totally irrelevant. This is totally, is it a historic home or not? And it has already been designated so by the Delaware County Planning Commission with the historic, Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission. That was done in 1984. So it is on the list of approximately, I think, 84 properties that they designated historic at that time. We are basically doing a formality to put it into our ordinance because each of those properties has to be entered in individually.
and the property owner did receive notice and the surrounding neighbors received notice too, to attend that first hearing. And then when the hearing was open last month, before we continued it, we stated on the record that we were going to hear it again at this meeting. And
No, but did the property owner get notified that we're gonna restrict his house from being torn down?
the property owner was notified that there was a hearing that was going to take place to designate or not this building as a historic resource. So they were noticed.
The issue with the property is that as much as it's historic, it is an eyesore in the neighborhood. The garage is half falling down. Porch of the property is collapsing. The windows are all rotted out. The house inside is just, I'm talking to people in the township zoning they can barely walk in the house.
Well,
It's a very concerning property in that neighborhood, and the location on Westchester Pike, the sidewalks, the ADA compliant, there's a lot of issues with this property, and
no one's questioning that there are issues with it.
and the upkeep and all. I mean, I get the historic designation and whatever, but it's I'd hate to see us do something and delay something happening to that house because it's historic or this or that. And then we're sitting with an eyesore on Westchester Pike now that's uncovered that everybody can see. And it's a very concerning property.
And I'll address your first question about the interior. A full inspection was done, and I accompanied Frank Falcone, who is a restoration specialist. He and I went through and he did a full evaluation of the
How did you
home.
get access to the house?
I think the door was left open.
That's an issue.
Well, it was for the Historical Society. It was not under the auspices of the township.
To have a discussion about that. I think we've already addressed it in the initially that we understand they're not allowed to do that. We're going to have further clarification about the bounds, the limits of what people can do.
But if that does determine that it is structurally sound, more sound than the paper mill or the tavern were when they were restored. So that issue. The other issue is that nobody is determining what the fate of the home will be. This is purely to say that this is a historic structure, and should someone want to demolish them, they have to go through some steps to do so. And if you're familiar with our ordinance, that's all it does say. And it gives the neighbors time to weigh in, and which some of them have, and some of them are very actually attached to the home. So I know you're saying it's an eyesore, but I've been approached by so many people who now see it, and also that grew up there, that are very attached to that as a piece of, you enter Newtown Square as a historic structure as you're entering. And along that strip, where Fox Chase, the Octagonal School, all along Westchester Pike. It has a lot of history to the families that lived in it. And the families all through the 1900s even. So a lot of the neighbors are very in favor, and as we met with them afterward, it was pretty easy to convince them they were here for another reason. They were fearful there was going to be knockdown and a Wawa would
I
be put
understand with your
there.
neighbors, and I live in that neighborhood, and the neighbors won't be happy. From 20 years now, it looks exactly the same, and that's the major concern that I have with the whole thing, that it just sits there abandoned because it has this historic designation, and we have a rotting house on Westchester Pike.
But no, there's steps people can take. It's
But-
just listed, and it gives you more steps.
I understand, but these are concerns of other people in that neighborhood, including myself. It's just, I'm very concerned about that property.
And that was my whole concern tonight with the paper mill house. We had two major corporations renovate that house at an extensive amount of money. I mean, he didn't tell us how much he spent, but he spent a lot of money on that house since they've owned it. And that's the problem. Now we're inheriting that house. We have a $25,000 maintenance fund, okay? But again, you need something done there. Now we gotta call either a subcontractor, or if the township doesn't have the person that can fix that, and that's the cost.
We're
We're not taking ownership of this.
This is,
This is
No, but here's my point. Here's my point. We have a property we just took control of, but it was maintained by two major corporations, Arco Chemical and BPG. So that house is in good shape today. Now we're looking at a house down the street to give the same designation to, around the corner by Sharretts. Somebody bought this property. Whatever the intention is, we don't know. We haven't heard from that person. And now you want to put a designation on it that makes it harder for them to tear this thing down. I don't think anybody's coming up with several $100,000 to fix that house so it's satisfactory enough for our zoning department not to condemn it. That's the problem here. That house is condemnable. And that's the problem. And that's what our zoning people have said. So we're taking a house, putting a designation on it, which makes it harder for this individual that owns it to do anything with it. Unless he wants to spend several $100,000 to bring it up to just, I guess, survivable code. Not even restored code, like there's other houses we have in town
Okay,
that you reference these other properties, but they've been professionally restored by corporations or by the township money, or I'm not sure who did the schoolhouse across the street from this. But again, these properties have all been maintained by either private individuals that have decided that they want to restore these homes, which are in this book, which have done a beautiful job. Some of them are here tonight, but the problem is we haven't heard from this individual, and it extensively damaged and in condition that's not, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but the zoning officers have violations against this property. And that's the problem. And no one's come forward from ownership. If it's, I don't know who owns it, the Charlotte's guy or whoever, and said, yes, I'm willing to dump several $100,000 in to bring it up to safety standards, because the other neighbors that live in that neighborhood, I don't know if you live in that neighborhood, but him and his neighbors live in that neighborhood. And now they're faced with this house that's derelict in their neighborhood. And I don't think it's fair to put a restriction on it that's going to make it harder for them to tear that house down. That's my opinion.
But none of these are appropriate considerations under the ordinance that we're supposed to be deciding under tonight. I mean, I don't know why the board passed that ordinance to begin with if we never want to designate anything, but at any rate, none of these are what we're supposed to be considering, and we shouldn't be adding new provisions to the historic ordinance on the fly when we don't like the condition of a house. It has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing tonight.
I kind of disagree with that, because if we're making it harder by putting the condition on, it prolongs that dilapidated house to stay the way condition it is.
I mean, the ordinance says what it says. It's not like we disagree on what the condition of the house is, and that's a part of the historic designation. I mean, the ordinance says if it meets certain criteria, which it clearly does, it should be added to the inventory, and it has nothing to do with what happens to the house afterward.
Mr. Sikora, does this designation make it harder for him to get demolition permits?
That's not even a consideration under the ordinance.
But yes, it makes it harder. Like,
Right, but these
ultimately-
other homes that are in this book that we reference, these beautiful homes, are all in satisfactory or excellent to excellent condition. And people have taken it upon themselves, for the majority of the homes in this book, to maintain them at their own expense. Okay, it would be at least nice to hear from the person that owns this property that, yeah, I understand you want to designate it, and yeah, I'm okay to put money in it. No, I'm not. I mean, there's nothing in writing or even have that person here to say anything.
Well, the
Well,
only.
but I mean, you're saying you want to modify the ordinance then tonight without us voting on it to add a requirement that somebody agrees to maintain the property to a certain degree, or you're not going to designate it and add it to the register. I mean, that's totally inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll add to that is I have to agree with Supervisor Chandler said right there. I mean, they were noticed. I mean, the property owner received the notice, the neighbors received the notice who were here the last time. So to that point, I'll just say, you know, we can't require a property owner to come in here and you know, we can't require a property owner to come in here, you know.
But even if they came in here and said, no, I don't want to take care of it, that has nothing to do with the decision that we have to make tonight. And this board is the one that wrote and passed and made a big deal about that ordinance.
Kathy, you just said what my fear is.
But that's not a
Is that what my
appropriate
fear is?
consideration under the ordinance.
Yeah.
Then we should discuss whether the board, I wouldn't want to, but if the majority of the board wants to change the ordinance that we just passed, we should do that with the proper notice at the right time.
Part of the preservation purpose and the properties that are chosen has to do with those that are in peril or those that are more likely to be in peril or more likely to be bought and want to be demolished. So there's rarely any of those. We haven't had that many, but they are the ones that we earmark sometimes first, just so that there are steps. And if you are familiar with our ordinance, you would see clearly that it's not going to prohibit in the end. It's going to add an extra step. And I guess what we think is a historical structure is entitled to an extra step. There should be an extra step. You have to go, you get a permit, you want to demolish, you go before the Historic Commission, You plead your case, it still moves on to the planning, it still moves on to the township, and you can still override it. But the point is, the designation is there, so there is time to discuss with everybody. There's a waiting period. And then the neighbors can weigh in, and maybe they want to weigh in on what this person's going to do with the property. It gives everybody all this time, and it isn't even that many, it's 90 days to discuss it. And a historic property is entitled to a discussion. And I am very familiar with this property. I grew up there, so I knew it as the Contestable's house and Dr. Contestable and his wife. So I'm very familiar with that property, and I know a lot of the people there are as well, and they have a fondness for it. Now, you know, structurally, as I said, I'm not going to argue those points. Frank isn't here, but it's sound. And he knows what to look for. He did the renovation on the tavern. He did some of it on the paper mill.
I would stop
But
talking.
last, he
I would
got,
stop talking about the structure of that since
Well, you had brought it up, so that's
know,
why I
but
brought.
you don't have a report and. you
Yes,
entered
the report wasn't
You
given
entered
to
the
you.
house illegally. So
That
let's
you're-
not.
you have a
let's
report.
not
All right, we
talk
need to
about
talk
that.
one at a time.
Leonard, there's
We're
a
not gonna
report.
talk about entering a house illegally in a report that was.
Not that report, you got the initial report. It's in your packet. And he has numbers on each item that he evaluated.
Supervisor Chanlis, you were going to say something?
yeah, I have a recollection, that I thought we talked about a possibility last time of designating just a portion, like my understanding was there's a portion of the house that everybody agrees can be torn down. Am I thinking of the right property, that like the porch or some area was a concern? And we talked about the possibility of designating just the main building or a portion of that and adding that to the registry. I thought we talked about that at the last meeting, so that there was sort of a mid-ground.
That is correct. It had to do, because I think, yeah, you're correct.
The rear portion is the kitchen, and that is not, that is more modern in the 1900s. That piece is not as structurally sound, and there's a porch that has some marked decay and is, has some weak structural pieces, and that is also, can be taken down. The garage isn't even included.
Any other board discussion?
I mean, just following up on that, I'll say, I think it makes sense if I don't think the condition, it should be considered at all, but if it, I think it makes sense to designate just the main portion, if that can provide some kind of a mid-ground for people.
Kathy, can you restate the last part of your statement for, please?
Yeah, I just said, I think it makes sense that if it provides a mid-ground, that we designate only the main portion and we don't designate those portions that Kathy just said were more modern and, less structurally sound, although I don't believe that's an appropriate criteria.
Okay, since this is a hearing, before I go to that, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Any members of the public who wish to add anything or provide any comment on this? Hold on, just to the podium, and then Mr. Scalia, when you speak, just do it slowly because there's a court stenographer here.
Okay.
And for the record, can you just state your name and address?
I'm Rosario Scalia, 4111 Goshen Road. And the only thing I want to add, because I heard that about the designation, these homes already been listed and decided by the Pennsylvania Museum Commission.
These homes are what now?
Already listed under the Pennsylvania Museum Commission. You can go online and you see them all, because in the 80s a survey was done. Now the issue is whether the township has to approve them as historical resources or not. And I want to say just a personal comment I want to make. If a resource is historic, it doesn't matter if it's close to a road or is in a state that needs help. And perhaps you should consider that some owners might be sitting on them doing no help with the hope, it's called demolition by neglect, with the hope that they get demolished and they can sell the land because maybe it's a nice neighborhood, it's a valuable land, and they don't want to invest in the house. just with that kind of, many developers do that. So perhaps by giving them this designation, eventually somebody will come in to restore them and bring them back to a livable space. That's all. I mean, I guess one is to consider when looking with historical resources where you draw the line, either it's historic or not. But if it's historic, many historic homes are close to the road. That's the way they were. And they, unfortunately, many of them have been neglected and they are in need of help. And maybe adaptive use can be found once they are designated that way. That's all. That's my consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Any other board comment before we go and vote? All right. I think we're going to do a roll call vote on this, Mr. Neese. So we'll just have you call the name and we'll say either yes or no on the designation.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Chanlis.
Yes.
Mr. San Francesco. Mr. Altieri.
I'm gonna say yes. We got a split vote here. I guess we'll be going back, bringing it back in a month.
You can't, well, the motion did not carry. You need to conduct business under the second-class township code. You need positive vote of 3, majority of the members of the board, not a majority of the quorum, and you don't even have that because it's 2 to 2. So you would either have to keep the hearing open or and wait until 5th board member comes to make a decision, or close the record and restart the process.
What is the board's?
I would suggest that we don't close the record and restart the process. So, I mean, we've already invested resources in getting to this point. I think we should hold it open and wait until we have a 5th board member. Otherwise, I don't know why we passed the ordinance and why we're spending money to pretend to enforce it.
Okay, any other board, what's the other board direction on that?
Keep it open.
Okay, so we will not re-advertise, but we will state, and correct me if any of this is wrong, Mr. Neese, on the record, that we will have our next hearing on this in September. How's September 9th
It will be the
looking?
9th.
That work for everyone?
Oh, man.
All right, so September 9th, 2024, this hearing will be continued till, is that what I'm saying? Continue to, the record will be held open until the 9th of September. Okay. Perfect, Tom. This hearing is closed at 9:17. 13, oh, and then we'll open up the next hearing. Tell me when you're ready, Tom.
All right, 1 second.
This is gonna be real quick. Open and close, Tom.
Uh-oh.
Tell me when you're ready.
Go, I'm ready, sir.
You ready? All right.
to say I got floppy disks in my machine. That's how bad
I saw one of them, a floppy disk. I saw one of them at the Smithsonian once.
Yeah.
My
I
goodness.
just got off the typewriter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul still uses it, but he knows a lot about security cameras.
you know,
Yeah.
it's embarrassing, but what am I gonna do?
Well, there's a lot that Paul does that now.
Got Roman numerals on here.
So public hearing, it's 9:18, 13.2, conditional use hearing for 14 Phillips Lane. I am going to note on the record that this hearing will be continued to the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. And that is all I have for that one. So the record is closed on that at 9:18. I do need to go back up to 12.15, however. I believe that this needs to be revised a little bit. Ms. Valanin, if that is correct.
Yeah.
You have a microphone over there? You have a microphone?
Oh, there you go.
The quote that I received for the camera, I was told there would be 1 camera, so that quote is based on 1 camera. If indeed there are going to be 2, that quote will need to be doubled.
So it's $10,581 a camera.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be an additional $10,000, an additional, okay. So, what does the board want to do?
We table that till next time and then get the real quote and see, because it may be,
Yeah.
it may be a dual camera, one camera with two, so that's, yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah, I think we need better.
Table it, yeah.
So, Mr. Neese or Mr. Sikora, since we already approved that motion, do we need to do a motion to hold off? Like, how do you want to handle that?
Yeah,
Tell the
just,
manager to
just,
hold off and get more information.
yeah, just do a motion to rescind the approval of that motion
Of 12,
and to
15.
relist it at the next meeting.
All right, so I'll make a motion to rescind the approval of motion 12.15 until the September meeting, at which time the township manager will flesh out the details of the invoice and the camera setup. You have to repeat it. Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any further board discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Section 15, board comment. Is there any board comment? One thing I just want to note is, and I failed to mention this when we took the paper mill house, but the formal dedication ceremony or transfer ceremony will take place sometime in September. When we work all the details with Equus, we'll be in touch with the Historical Society and Equus to do a big ceremony over at the actual John West Tavern. Now we'll move to section 16, which is public comment. Is there any members of the public who have anything they wish to say? All right, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.